Hello students, today's topic is nervous system. Now, what do we mean by nervous system? Nervous system is a complex network of various nerves, right? And it basically consists of two main parts. One is the brain and other is the spinal cord, which initiates from here, the brainstem. So this is the model of brain. As you see, a brain has two hemispheres. So left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Now these two hemispheres control the two sides of our body. The left side of the brain controls right side and right side of the brain controls our left side. So we are able to shake this hand, our right hand, then the left brain is controlling this. Okay? So this brain and the spinal cord and then the nerves which are there constitute nervous system. And what is the basic structural and functional unit of nervous system? So our nervous system comprises of a very large number of cells called neurons. Okay? So structural and functional unit of nervous system is a neuron. Okay? Now what are the parts of the neuron? Now neuron may be a small cell or a very long cell. Its size varies according to the function. Okay? And the length depends upon this axon part. Axon may be few millimeter or it may be meters in length. So we start from here, this part, cyton, cell body or soma. So there is nucleus, then there are nasal granules. Centrosomes are not present in the cell, neurons, because neurons, they are not capable of dividing. So when we are born, we are having a fixed number of nerve cells and we cannot generate nerve cells during our lifetime. Okay? So cell body, then singular is dendron, plural is dendrites. So these are the extensions. Then there is a long path axon which terminates into nerve endings, and at the base of the nerve endings are these bulb-like structures. Now this axon is covered with a myelin sheath. Its function is to insulate, right? But here I would like to tell you children that this nervous system, our nerves, yes, they use electrochemical impulses, but just like normal electricity, there is no flow of electrons or any other substance. It is no movement of any substance, either electrons or anything else is there. It is just because of the change in the sodium-potassium ionic balance inside and outside, which is beyond the scope of your syllabus. So this axon, which is covered by myelin sheath, there are certain gaps between the sheath. These are the nodes of Ranvier. Okay? Insulation is not there. So nerve endings and these bulbs. Now, the transference of message is unidirectional. The dendroids, they receive the message from some other neuron. That message is passed on through axon to the nerve endings to the dendrites of the other neuron. Okay? Now, here in the bulbs, there is stored a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is a chemical named acetylcholine. Okay? Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter stored in these bulbs. So, these are the terminal endings of this neuron. then the dendrites of the other neuron. In between there is a gap. This gap is called synapse. So what is synapse? Synapse is a functional junction between two neurons. What is a synapse? Functional junction between two neurons. Now what happens here in the synaptic cleft? The bulbs, they release chemical which is neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which tells this neuron to get ready to receive the electrical impulse. So electrochemical impulse. So the communication in our nervous system to various parts of our body is through the neurons. Okay? Now, the neurons are doing this. So, there are messages which are received by our receptors. Okay? So, receptors are to receive the messages. So, receptors, various receptors are photoreceptors, then phonoreceptor, then olfactory receptor, and then gustatory. So, photoreceptors, phonoreceptor, olfactory receptor, gustatory receptor, then touch, then temperature. All these stimuli, photo means light, phono means sound, olfactory smell, gustatory taste, okay, light, sound, smell and taste. Then there is touch. So these receptors are present in the brain, right? Now there are different parts of the brain which have these receptors. There are different lobes of the, now the brain has main largest part, that is cerebrum, then there is cerebellum, and then there is pons, medulla, which continues into the spinal cord. So now the receptors are taking the message from the environment, right? That is, they are keeping us informed. So how do they keep us informed? So whenever there is change in light, you know, when there is very, very bright light entering your eyes, you immediately close your eyes without even thinking. Something goes into your nose, you sneeze, right? So these are received by sensory neurons. So sensory neurons take the message to the CNS. CNS means central nervous system. It further comprises of brain and spinal cord. Okay? Now, there are certain functions which are controlled by brain, but there are certain functions which are only controlled at the level of spinal cord. So those actions are generally called reflex actions. Okay? Now, reflex actions are again of two types, spinal and cranial. Okay? So cranial reflex actions are controlled by brain and spinal are controlled by our spinal cord. Whereas the memory, the heartbeat, the salivation, okay, so the voluntary movements, they are controlled by various parts of our central nervous system. system which are there in the brain. Now the sensory neurons have taken the information from the surroundings. They have, now the stimuli is there, right? But the response comes from CNS. Okay? So there are other types of neurons whose function is to bring the message. So those are called motor neurons. Now, sensory neurons were bringing message from the receptors, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, touch or temperature is detected by our skin. Skin is also a sense organ. So eyes, nose, ears, then tongue and then skin. These are the sense organs. So sense organs have receptors. Receptors detect the stimuli from the environment, give the message to sensory neuron, message goes to CNS. Now CNS processes that message, analyzes the situation, gives the message to motor neuron. Motor neuron passes the message to effectors. So receptors and effectors. Now effectors are further of two types, muscles and glands. So muscles and glands are the effectors. So now sensory to motor. In between there is also an intermediary neuron and that is called relay neuron. Okay. Now relay means sensory gives message to central nervous system. Central nervous system passes to motor neuron through this relay neuron. So this is the pathway. Okay. So this is how the person interacts with the stimulus and responds to the stimulus. So the next topic is of reflex action, reflex arc. So that we will be doing in the other video. Thank you.